My job is really weird. Occasionally people ask me how to get my job. Yeah, we talk about degrees and PhDs and experience in teaching and CVs and universities and stuff like that, but we never talk about the the weirdest part of it. I guess it's kind of a given. If you're an anatomy lecturer, you do this part of your job. It's part of your job. You've seen maybe that we teach anatomy using anatomy plastic models. We also use computer generated models and radiographs and, you know, all sorts of normal teaching methods. But of course, if you're going to teach anatomy, we also use bodies that have been incredibly kindly and bravely donated to us to examine after people's deaths. Can you imagine that? Donating your body to a university to be studied by medical students and other healthcare profession students and anatomy students. I mean, something I'm going to have to do when I die, and really that's the weirdest part of the job, is about when I die. When you're young, like most university students are, you are invincible. You have your entire life ahead of you, and we know how adolescents and to a certain extent young people, to a certain extent me, take part in risky behaviours, right? Because you're invincible, you're pushing your boundaries, you want to feel alive, you know, all that sort of stuff, right? That risk-reward relationship shift when you're young. But then, if you're studying medicine or a health profession course where you're lucky enough to be able to study bodies in anatomy class, your perception shifts a little bit, because this is the first time that the reality of death and your own mortality is put very clearly in front of you every week for a year or two. It changes how you think, right? And I've basically got a day of writing ahead of me, which is why I'm making a vlog, because I'm procrastinating. So I'm on my way into work. It's a beautiful, sunny, warm Friday morning by the sea. There it is. In South Wales, because it's always sunny in South Wales. And oh, the boys are up for the triathlon this. Oh no, it's the air show this weekend. But don't worry, I'm not going to show you any bodies in this vlog. For the same reason, I don't show you any bodies in my anatomy videos. This is the main anatomy lab that you might have seen before if you've watched some of the anatomy videos. This is our lab of plastic models and teaching and computers and all sorts of things, right? You might have seen we've got lab coats on the wall. So we've got another lab where we store bodies that we use for anatomical examination, for teaching. And there are a number of clear reasons why we do this, and a number of kind of reasons in what we call a hidden curriculum for doing this. We've just put 300 students through a physical anatomy spotter exams where we have models and put pins in them and ask them questions, and they go around and they have a minute at each one. Anyway, so clearly, if you want to properly understand the anatomy of the human body, if you have the opportunity to actually study human bodies and look inside them, you get so much more. You see the real sizes, the real shapes, the real arrangement of the bodies, why that nerve is actually that big. You see that while textbooks say that there's a single vein, there's often a couple of veins. You just see, well, you see reality. All of this stuff it's simplified and tidied up and made pretty. But when you actually look inside the body, you see the real anatomy. And if you're a healthcare professional, you can then imagine all of that when you're working with your patient and they've got their skin on, or you're looking at their radiographs. But the other thing is, by looking at lots of different bodies, you see another truth, and that is that we are all roughly the same. We're kind of similar, but if you look at 5 different people inside, they're all a little bit different. We're all a little bit special. We're all a little bit individual, and we're all a little bit the same. And that's really, really important. Instead of expecting everybody to be laid out like the textbook, you better understand reality. And some aspects of anatomy you can't see at all unless you look at a real body. I'm thinking about things like fascia. In fact, lots of connective tissue. So my mind boggles with the number of things you can't see on plastic models, but you can only see on real bodies. But clearly the strangest thing about all of this is that we're not just examining a body, we're not just examining anatomy, we're examining a person that has died, a person whose time on this earth has ended. And that's incredibly personal. I think I'm thinking about this because it's week 45 next week. I've still got 3 weeks left of teaching. Then I get a little bit of time off for the summer, and then we have our new intake in the first week of September. So I'm always thinking about these new students when they come in, how they're going to feel about all this and how I'm going to prepare them. So that's where my mind is. So this is a very, very strange experience, the first time you experience time with a body after they've died. And we never forget that. I am the designated individual here at this university, which means I have a legal responsibility for caring for the bodies here, and that's how we think of it. We care for the bodies. Students will often be told that this is the first patient, right? We never forget that the body in front of us is the body of a person that has donated their body for us to examine. So we don't treat the body as a number, we don't treat the body as a piece of anatomy, we treat the body as a person, and we're incredibly careful and respectful and grateful. And just imagine how big and important that is to a healthcare professional, to be able to have this experience in a safe environment like the anatomy department, rather than having it for the first time in a clinical environment where you are expected to behave in a certain way and handle it. We give students the opportunity to go through those emotional processes and those difficulties over the 2 years that they study anatomy with us. So then, I don't know that anatomists ever talk about this with each other, but imagine how that affects us. So me as a teacher, so I've been working with bodies to study anatomy for 32 years, which is quite a long time, and getting used to it is the wrong. You never get used to it, you never take it for granted, it's always special, but you have a constant reminder in front of you every week that this is going to be you one day. Not necessarily right here, but it really drives home your own mortality, which hopefully makes us think in a different way. But you know, we're all different, so I don't know that it does. So then if you know what I do for a hobby, being a rock climber and a mountaineer and that sort of thing, you must wonder, blimey, how on earth can you do all the things that you do knowing, I don't know, you've got to feel alive when you're alive, right? It definitely affects how I think, how I behave, what I do in life, probably a very subconscious level. Seagulls are having a lovely time as usual. But probably in a good way. I think it's all of these experiences are positive. the ability to study and learn and understand and see truth, actual truth, physically, and then for it to have an effect on your own life, how you think, how you behave towards other people. Because not to be not to be too morbid, it's a pretty morbid topic. When you look inside people, you see that everybody's the same. I think when you travel the world as well, and you talk to lots of people in lots of parts of the world, you realise that we're all pretty much the same, and most people are very nice and helpful. So it's one of those things I don't think I've talked about before. It's very strange, it's very unusual, it's very normalised to me and other people that work in my profession. And there are other professions that work in death as well, because death is a very normal and very large part of life and the human life cycle. We all go through this. We all have people around us that die. It's a very normal process, and it's viewed in different ways around the world. And of course, I'm in South Wales, I'm in the UK, so we have a certain viewpoint. And lots of other people will view this completely differently, which is interesting. Anyway, my job is weird, in a good way.